I just want to say something about cultural historical theory and CHAT, not comparing them, but just presenting the specific features of each. So if you take cultural historical theory, I mean cultural historical theory of Vygotsky, which is not dead, which is still alive. This is a very clear theory. I mean, it's a sort of classical type of theory. It has very clear subject matter, and the subject matter is the process of development of human consciousness, which is the system of higher psychological functions. Okay, so it has several laws, several objective and universal laws of development of higher psychological functions, which are important, which is an important part of the theory. It has its system of concepts, which are related to the subject matter and which are related to the laws of development. And finally, it has its own research method, which is related to concepts and laws. See, this is a kind of clear theory with all these aspects. It looks like a classical theory, like a classical traditional theory. So what kind of theory CHAT is? CHAT is a different type of theory. It's a type of postmodernist theory which has no clear subject matter. What is the subject matter of CHAT? I don't know. Activity, interactions, mediation, well, work design, system of activity, I don't know. So, are there any laws represented in CHAT? No. What is the system of the concepts of CHAT? Yeah, maybe subject, object, mediated artifact, all these things. Yeah, that's more or less okay. But you see, these concepts are different from Vygotsky. Vygotsky didn't have a concept of subject or object or division of labor, okay? So, and finally, what is the main research method of CHAT? I don't know. Maybe there is some, but it definitely is different from that of Vygotsky. You see, Vygotsky wanted to create a fundamental classical theory based on the classical principles with very clear components. CHAT is a different type of theory. It's a theory, but theory created and the structure of the theory is very different. So, but probably this is not the most important point. The most important point is cultural historical theory was a psychological theory, and it was a theory of developmental psychology, okay? Because the idea of cultural historical was to understand the process of psychological development. Activity theory, Leontiev, was also psychological theory, and the idea of the theory was to understand the process of development of consciousness, but consciousness from human activity, consciousness activity principle. So they were different theories, but they were both psychological theories, theories of psychological development of human beings. CHAT is not a psychological theory. It is not a theory of psychological development. It is not a theory of development of high psychological functions or consciousness. This is a theory about activity systems. Very interesting matrix to analyze any kind of activity systems. It might be school, it might be a restaurant, it might be, well, the research community, it might be university, it might be every activity, every system of activities of human beings. That's okay. But this is not a theory of psychological development. And this is the most, from my point of view, from my humble opinion, is the most important difference between Leontiev and Vygotsky, cultural historical activities, and CHAT.